everyone. Thank you for joining our Fastcast today. We will be going through some material in a very short amount of time to be sensitive to your time, talking about 3 best practices to build a customer experience strategy. To introduce myself, my name is Becca Kraft. I run product marketing here at Salesforce for one of our service products. And we are going to be going through these best practices and also have a few tactics and other things that you can take away from this webinar today. We'll be going for content for about 15 minutes, and then we will be opening it up for questions. So just some housekeeping. If you are on the webinar and you have a question, please ask it in your chat function, and I will see it come up as a question. So with that, let's jump right in. Before we go any further, I'd like to share with you our forward-looking statement. We are here at Salesforce, a publicly traded company, so please make your purchasing decisions based on currently available product and publicly available information. So I want to start by thinking through what is a customer experience. And a customer experience, as we define it, is every interaction that your company has with your customers. So that means if they are interacting with a sales team, that means if they're interacting with a service team, that means if they're interacting with a back office, your customer doesn't really care who it is that they're interacting with. What they care about is that experience is a good one. And ultimately, it's your customers who decide how successful you are at delivering a customer experience. So when we start thinking about what, we can talk about customer experience until we're blue in the face, but it's your customers that are really going to decide. So as part of our conversation here today, the reason that it's important for us to focus on customer experience is because customers prioritize the experience that they get over price and over product. So when you start, I think, 10, 20 years ago, if what you were thinking about was, well, what I need to do is I need to price my product or service more competitively than my next competitor, and then people will choose it. That is no longer the case. If what your approach has been is, well, my product or service is superior to my competitors, that also isn't necessarily what's driving customer decisions. What is driving them is that customers are choosing and prioritizing the experience that they get with a company over price and over product. So that's why it's important for you to have a strategy in place. So let's dive right into those 3 best practices. The first is it's really important to get to know what works for your customer. You already know who this audience is. You have a company that is targeting a particular group of people to buy your product or service. The important thing is to get feedback from them about what works and what doesn't. So some of the things that we see are, for example, a company called Herschel. For those of you who see Herschel backpacks or Herschel fanny packs, what they learned is that what they knew about their customers was that their customers like to be on social media. They know that their customers like to be on Twitter, they like to be on Facebook. And so some of the things that Herschel did was set up a feedback mechanism through those channels. So Herschel consistently calls out to their customer base, tell us what you think. We want to hear about it. We want to do it in this open forum so that they can get that feedback. Oh, it sounds like we may have lost the audio connection. Can anybody chat to me that they can hear me, please? Okay, people can hear me. So I'm going to keep going. Thank you for all of the people that can hear me. I appreciate that. Anyway, so what Herschel does is they put the call out for feedback, and this is really critical because who is your customer experience for? It's for your customers. So making sure that they have a way to tell you what works and what doesn't in a programmatic way is critical as you build your strategy. So that's a best practice that we see a lot. The other one is, so we've talked about who is customer experience for. Customer experience is really for your customers. The question then comes up, well, who is responsible for customer experience? And one of the things that we see from the most successful companies is that it's not just one person or one team or one group that is responsible for customer experience. It's actually the entire company. And this goes back to the customer feeling like it doesn't matter who I'm talking with. I'm talking to the company, and I want them to be able to resolve whatever it is that I'm talking to them about. Now, a great example of this is a company called FormStack. FormStack is a company that helps people with their online forms so that they can collect and manage all of that data for their company. It's a business-to-business kind of a company. The thing that is so interesting about what FormStack does to be able to make customer experience everyone's responsibility is part of their training at the company is everybody lives the life of a support agent for their first 2 weeks at the company. So all of what they do is interact with customers, learn more about their pains, understand what it's like to use the product, understand what the questions are that come about before they buy the product and what the questions are that come about after they buy the product. It's a really useful view for everyone in the company to have. Now, the long-term gain of that is that everybody has the sense of what is it like to deal with customers and what is the best way for me to be responsible for customer experience in my own role. So when they come out of their 2 weeks as the customer support team, what they can do is they can take those insights into the back office or accounting or into sales or into marketing, or maybe they are part of the support team in general, but they can take those insights and apply them to the way that they do their job. And the third best practice is we've talked about, who is customer experience for? It's for your customers. Who is responsible for customer experience? And if it's everyone at your company, you want to make sure that they have the ability to stay focused with the full customer context of what that customer is going through. So whether that means making sure that the contact information is consistent so they know what city they're in, whether the sales information or purchasing agreements, anything that's happening from a billing or a shipping perspective. A friend of mine just bought a couch and a bed, but the company just was able to deliver the couch and not the bed. And it was so painful to get the bed delivered that he ended up returning the couch because the company kept emailing him saying, hey, here's some stuff that might go with the bed, not realizing that the bed hadn't arrived yet. That's the kind of context you need and the full picture of what's happening for the customer that helps your team stay focused. And the company that I like to talk about staying focused and making sure that everyone on the team has what they need to be able to deliver that great customer experience is Mantri. Now, Mantri is a company that does food delivery primarily, but it's fresh with local chefs. So they are not a restaurant, but they have a menu that you can go online and select fresh local food, and it's delivered to your home, ready to either heat up if it's been cold, or for you to be able to prepare so you have a great fresh meal. And what Mantri does that's really useful for everyone on their team is they get a lot of information about, for the delivery people, they get information about, well, what floor does this person live on? How do they prefer to get the delivery? Do you need to call them to let them know you're there, or do you just ring the bell? They get a lot more information, and they can share that information with the people that are reacting to customer questions. So the customer service team or even the social media team gets to have a lot more context and a lot more information about who that customer is and the ways that they want to do business. Now, we talked about these three best practices, making sure that you can get feedback, that everyone is responsible, and that all of that customer context connects who is this customer experience for to the people who deliver it. But the strategy is only going to take you so far. The execution is really going to matter when it comes to building a customer experience strategy. So you need to think about those two things hand in hand. The reason that I'm going to change this conversation a little bit into one that talks a little bit more about customer service is customer service is really the front line of customer experience. We talk to customers about what are the things that they value in an experience. They tend to tell us that they see customer service as a true test of how much the business values or how much the company values their business. It's a test of that relationship. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you can do from a service perspective as part of your customer experience strategy to think through what those tactics are going to look like. So the quick tactics that we're going to dive into in a little bit more detail are first to offer multi-channel support, second to automate more, and third to provide self-service in some form. And we're going to talk about why. The first thing that we want to do when we're talking about helping customers faster is providing that multi-channel support so that customers can reach you on the channel of their choice, not necessarily of your choice. So you want to make it easy for customers to contact you. When we think about the ways that customers traditionally have contacted companies, we're thinking about phone and email, but we're also seeing a lot of emerging channels. Twitter is actually the fastest growing channel in terms of customers' interest in reaching out to companies to get their questions answered on Twitter instead of phone or email. We're also seeing the rise of Facebook and chat, and also customers looking at mobile devices to try to get their answers. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to provide productivity tools for your team to be able to answer questions quickly on all of these channels, and also have the customer context so that they can deliver the better experience regardless of the channel that they're dealing with the customer on. The next thing that I want to encourage you to think about is how do you automate the process so that you can get those quicker response times and respond to customers faster. And those might be automated things like assigning cases to the right agent. These are just some examples for what that automated process might look like. But it might be tracking every case from the moment that it opens to the moment it closes, every question that comes in, prioritize the different types of cases. So maybe you have urgent cases that are actually ones that will be mission critical for that customer, or maybe you have different tiers of customer. You've got VIP customer versus regular customer. You want to be able to automatically prioritize those kinds of questions so that your team can jump on them more quickly. You might be interested in tagging similar cases so you can identify some trends, or you might just be interested in setting some expectations with the people that are contracting you in terms of your response time. So if you have an automated email that goes out in response to any email that comes in that says, "Thank you for your email. Our customer service team will respond to you within 24 hours. That gives the customer a good guideline for when are we going to hear back. Those are some of the things that we see people automate very, very quickly to create a better customer experience. And the last is provide self-service. One of the things that we're starting to see is that customers turn to self-service to find their own answer before they turn to the company. They don't really want to talk to you. They want to be able to figure it out for themselves. So some of the benefits of that are that customers have access to answers anywhere at any time, so it's not dependent on the hours of your support team. It also means that some of those simpler questions that can be answered with a frequently asked questions set of answers lets your team focus on some of the more complex issues. It also gives your support team the opportunity to be consistent and accurate if they have a whole library of knowledge that they can share with customers. And it means that instead of just writing out this is the answer, you can include things like pictures or video to help customers resolve their own issue. You know, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video has got to be worth at least 10,000. So that's the kind of ways that you can help deliver a better experience with self-service. Now, for those of you that are in a small business or maybe in a one that is growing very quickly, technology is a great equalizer, right? Technology levels the playing field for small businesses so that they can look bigger than they are and get access to some best-of-breed tools and materials so that their team is ready for that. Here at Salesforce, of course, we talk about technology all the time, And one that I want to draw your attention to is our product called Desk.com. It's really designed to help you build a better customer experience when you're starting from scratch, because it comes out of the box with all of the processes and features that you're going to need already connected and ready to go, so that you can be up and running, delivering better customer service in an average of 2 days. And it has everything you need to be able to help customers faster, make better decisions with some great reporting, help customers help themselves with self-service connected and ready, and the ability fundamentally for you to scale as you grow. There are thousands of fast-growing businesses that rely on Desk.com to do all of those things. These are just a few examples. But I want to make sure that we open it up to questions. So you may have had some questions along the way. So we are going to go into the Q&A part. So we have a question that, is it possible to use Desk to put a variable in that auto reply? We'd be interested in letting our users know about how long a reply will take at the moment, which can change from week to week. It's a great question. One of the things that's really useful about Desk is that it's really easy to adjust. So you could put a variable in the auto reply, or you could have different types of auto replies that go out, depending on how they came in. So let's say you have product A and product B, and questions that come in for product A are going to take, let's say, 24 hours, and questions that come in for product B take 48 hours. You can absolutely set that up and then adjust it so that if you add an additional product, that's really easy to do, that say takes 72 hours to respond. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is take a look at Desk.com, go in, kick the tires, and understand what that admin experience looks like. Because one of the benefits of an out-of-the-box product like this is it doesn't require a lot of IT or developmental resources to be able to use. As a marketer, it is something I can use, which is very useful. So I think that hopefully will answer your question, Andrew. Thank you for your question. Will there be a link to the presentation to rewatch? Yes, we will be emailing a recording of this presentation so that you can watch it again and again and share it with all of your friends. So we had an interesting comment that the opposite is true. Users don't want to go look for info on their own. They always want to talk to a human. And I think, Mattia, that's a great point. One of the things that we see is that when customers do get to that human, it's because they haven't been able to figure it out on their own. Now, it may be that if you are interacting with users where their questions tend to be more complex and nuanced and unique to that particular user, absolutely, they're going to want to talk to a human who's an expert who can guide them through. But sometimes what we also see is that if I know personally as a consumer, if I have a question, my first thing that I do is I go to my phone or I go to a computer to look it up on the internet to see if I can figure it out for myself, which makes my interest in talking to a human actually an escalation channel because I've already tried to solve my problem. So it depends on your users and it depends on your audience. You're absolutely right. But it's just something to be aware of that now we as people have been trained to go to the internet to try to find solutions. And for some that's going to work, and for some that's not going to work. Just an interesting thing to think about. When you gave the initial customers, I am sure you need to give what channel works best? If you're thinking about channels versus face-to-face interactions, when you're thinking about, think about everything you know about your audience. You know who your customers are. Now, for a company like Herschel, the reason that they know that they want to be on social channels is because they know that a lot of their customers are millennials. Millennials, in general, are more comfortable on Facebook and Twitter than they are picking up the phone. This is a gross generalization, but it is something that is useful to understand about your audience. So as you think about what are the channels that work best, the important thing for you to do is to look at your customer base and understand how do they want to be interacted with. That is going to be a unique question for every company, so I don't necessarily feel super comfortable telling you what channel is going to work best without knowing more about your business. But it's one of the reasons that we turn to self-service, is that self-service tends to be ubiquitous. One of the statistics that I saw recently was that 75% of customers turn to self-service first. So I think when you're thinking about those channels, self-service as a channel is very useful, but I think if you're thinking about the channels that are going to be useful for my business, you're going to have to take a look at your business. What version of Desk do you need to have in order to have the feedback function? So there are a few different editions of Desk.com. The one that I would encourage you to look at is the Pro edition. That is the one that has our CSAT functionality available as part of the product. Let's see, can we set up social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook with Desk? So one of the things that we see from a service perspective is the rise of Facebook and Twitter. So you can connect Facebook and Twitter into Desk with just a few clicks. And that's all part of the admin experience. A question, do we have templates for rules in Desk that can be imported? There are a few that you can find in the Desk Support Center at support.desk.com. You can also always email support@desk.com, which will put you in touch with our WOW team, and they can give you some guidance around what's going to be useful for you. If you're already a Salesforce customer, how does Desk interact? That is a great question too. One of the pieces of Desk that's really useful is a piece called Desk Connect. And what Desk Connect, just to get a little technical for the moment, Desk Connect is a bi-directional sync between Desk and Salesforce standard objects, the account, the contact, and the case. So if you have your contacts already in Salesforce and you want to enable your customer service team with all of the productivity tools and knowledge base that they're going to need to be effective, what you have is you have your sales team living in Salesforce and your service team living in Desk, but they're all united around that customer information in the contact. So yes, your Desk customers will also have that. We have a question about Jira that is a little bit more specific than what I'd like to get into for this webinar, but I would encourage you to go to the App Hub at Desk.com to understand more about that Jira integration. The other place to go is if you're in Desk.com, if you go to the admin and you click on Apps, you can get in, or you can connect Jira completely, and I don't believe that it is version specific, but it's something that I would be happy to follow up on with you. Any other questions? These were some great ones. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining our webinar. If you'd like to learn more about service from Salesforce, of course we'd like for you to talk to your AE. But the other thing that you can do that might be useful if you're interested specifically in Desk is just start a free trial. The free trial is actually set up so that you can get started resolving cases, so you can connect your channels and you're off and running. Thank you so much. Bye.